All right, so in this part, we're going to have a look at the new update from Axie and the tripling of the SLP costs and halving of AXS for breeds. Hopefully, this will start tackling the massive problem that we've just had for months, all right? Since the growth and, just the way that it works out and how much you can breed and how much, more SLP, all these new teams that everyone and a lot of managers coming in, giving out scholarships has been breeding because the ROI is so good. It's going to help, just hopefully reduce the amount. Like, it has to, but depending on how much people are going to breed, like if people decide that this is now just too much SLP to breed and they don't want to, it doesn't solve the problem. I'm hoping that people do jump in and breed. Thanks also to the people, whoever popped this up in the EBC Discord, so I didn't have to do this before we jumped in for the video. But these are the new breed costs now in SLP, and it's going to be the flat 0.5 AXS. So we can see here, it was getting super out of control with the burn. It was getting like 10 to 1 some days, 5 to 1 some days. Average of probably about 5 to 1, right? We got a few big mint days. You can see, it's a crazy day here. Minted. Wow. But it was still out of whack, right? So we can see here we had that expansion from July. It's just slowly got worse. So if we're having a look at these, right, it's, probably 4, maybe 5 to 1. If we have an average, some days it's the ratio isn't that crazy. And by upping this, so like if we took this as an average day, the burned amount here is 54 million. With the new cost of breeding for the SLP, that's going to be 162 million, and we would have minted 190. Sorry, it's in the mover. It does change. So just closing the gap between mint and burn is just it needs to be there, and they need more burning mechanisms. Honestly, this looks like a panic. If we look at the if we look how much this is just getting absolutely smashed. And all this downward selling pressure, like we're here, we saw in the other vid, we're down to like 6 RSI. And this is all this massive selling pressure, down 95% versus ETH. Like, it's dying. And the team needed to do something. And this looks like a quick sort of temporary fix, because it should close the gap and we shouldn't see so much selling pressure, because a lot of people, if they do want to expand, they're going to have to pay for it. I would love to see, because there's such a surplus already, all this extra SLP here that we haven't burnt is still around in the ecosystem somewhere as a surplus. I would love to see that the burn, like, double it again. Let's get this fixed. If we're going to fix it, let's fix it properly. Double it again. Make the cost of breeding actually double again in SLP. Double it from the triple. Because we've it gets it closer, but we've got all this has been minted. It's floating around. People are waiting to get rid of it. It's not like this fixes the problem now. Okay, good. We're only minting 40 million a day that we're not burning. Like, we've got all this to deal with as well. So it's not just moving forward. We've got all of this SLP that we need to do something with, and there's nothing to do with it at the moment. They're saying that they're going to need so many more Axies in the future. We're getting more Axies, but it's like, at what point, right? And it's just that massive selling pressure from scholars and managers. So I would like to see him double it again. Otherwise, we're going to have the same thing as we've been having, right? We can see here, if we go 4 hour, we got those 3 spikes where we've had news in the past, probably couple of months. I think one of them, this was the last time they doubled the SLP, and we got a small rally here, just back to resistance, 46%. I don't know what this was, if it was news or not. This was the DEX, and we got 100%. And then today, I think we got about 50% again. So we're getting these pumps, but they're not sustainable. They're not doing anything. It's helping people now get, we had 60% today. it's helping people get out of a position for like here, but like, and getting out of the SLP from their claims and getting a better price for it than they would have, but it still hasn't solved the problem. The problem's still there. If we go back, we've got all this red, all this SLP that's still floating around, that's just around in the ecosystem. It's on exchanges, it's in people's wallets, with nothing to do for it. So there's no demand for SLP. There's plenty. You can get it if you want it. So while these, SLP is pumping, look what happens every time it's pumped. Gets to a point of resistance and then just goes back to where it was and then down further. Back to a point of resistance, back straight down, because the problem hasn't been fixed. There's no long-term solution to make this not... to fix how much is in the ecosystem already and then the future amounts coming in. So while it's good, it's good for now. It's better than if they didn't do it. All right, let's have a look at, put my breeder's hat and manager hat on and what I'm doing. I know I sound a bit negative about it all, but it seems to be a quick fix while SLP was like looking at zero and they can't have that happen. So, full breed, it was 5,400 SLP and it was costing 4 AXS as well. Now the new breed is 2 AXS and 16,200 SLP. I wish it was 162,000. So our basis at SLP at 4.5 cents. It was pretty close when I was doing it. What are we at now? 4.6. Yeah, so about that as well. All right, so if we are breeding for 4 times now, this is what the ratio looks like. Now this is much better. This is such a good start. And if they're talking about balancing the SLP and AXS portions, having a third party or without them having to manually adjust it and it automatically kick into, there's a certain percentage and a certain ratio of SLP and a certain ratio of AXS, depending on the price of both of them. So for SLP tanks, maybe it costs you 10,000 SLP, but it's going to cost you around about the same ETH or US dollars, which would be super handy because that would definitely help balance the point of SLP, because it would just automatically correct and it would just cost you more SLP the time it goes, rather than them just doubling it, now tripling it after doubling it. So if we're looking at how much it's costing if we're breeding 4 times, it's going to be 0.043 ETH, which is the main portion of the breed now is in SLP, and then just $56 worth, or 0.013 of ETH. So the total 0.056 and about 245 USD. Good thing is that that's a good price to be breeding, because it should bring the floor up and it should bring the price of good Axies up as well, because you do get the mutation. So we should start seeing those good Axies that are in demand, start getting back to that 0.1 level, and then making breeding profitable as well if you do have those printers. Also looked at maybe breeding 3 times and sort of seeing how much that costs. There's not a huge difference for that one less breed. It works out on an average cost, if you divide the amount by 3, it's about 3,000 SLP. So whether people just will start breeding 3 times instead of 4, or whatever their plan was before, that would also burn less SLP, but also create less Axies in the ecosystem that are going out earning, an abundance of SLP above what they're actually their burn worth is. So if we look at it compared to sort of where it was previously, when I did the last video, we were at like it was about the same, right? It was about 0.052, 0.051. I can't remember. I think I might have had it in here somewhere. Last video, 0.056. Oh, sorry, from 0.051. So the breed cost in ETH has actually gone up because the proportion of SLP has moved just so far up that now that is the lion's share, or the major part of the breed is SLP, where before it was about 65% of the breed cost was made up of AXS and the other 35% was made up of SLP.
All right, so floor still low, still punishing for mutations. Nothing that you can do with these trash axes for now. Looked at their roadmap and they are pushing, and they are getting there. But at the moment, there's just so many mutated axes and things that you can't do, and you can sell it for floor. The floor's still pretty low though, 0.02 something. I think I saw today still. The movement in price and the cost of the breed went up by 0.02 ETH nearly, because from the old pricing, I think we're down to 0.035 for a little while there. But the big thing to take out of it is that the ratio between AXS and SLP portion of the breed used to be, well, it was nearly 2 to 1. It was 65-35 or so. So there was more, it cost you more AXS than SLP to make a breed. Now it's flipped in the other direction, right? So they're doing similar things that Peg Axie are doing, where it's like a 12 to 1, where their governance token, PGX, is the one, and 12 parts of that of the breed cost is their Viz token, which is their version of SLP, I guess, if you want to look at it like that. So the thing that is getting that is the proof of work, like SLP, is the bigger share. So it puts, you're burning so much more that there still is demand for the people that are creating that in game. So I like it. I'm glad it's flipped. It's a good start, but we need more burning mechanisms for SLP. Especially with all these trash axes, maybe they're talking about re-rolling cards and things like that by burning SLP. So hopefully, this is the start of Axie starting to get their shit together, and fixing the problem that they've created with the small amount of SLP it took. So they scaled so quickly, and now are starting to rein that back. So hopefully it's a step in the right direction. Still got a lot of work to go, but it should, we should see some. I'm hoping if we start seeing some good burn rate ratios, start seeing that new market structure. So we still need to see the market structure and there actually beget demand, and we start seeing the higher highs and the higher lows. So we do need demand back for SLP. Maybe this is nearly enough that it's costing, if you're breeding 4 times, it's going to cost you 16,000 to breed 4 axes. In SLP, hopefully some people, have to go and actually buy some SLP from the marketplace and aren't just going to have an abundance and leftover extra SLP, which they're just, dropping on the market each 15-day cycle. All right, so breeds went, so they've gone up a little bit. So the last few weeks, we had a look at this before where it was like 50k burn for the mint. With these changes, it will be looking more like about 150, because that's the triple of the 50k for the burns. Still not enough, but it is a lot better than it was. Hopefully it'll stop the bleeding of SLP. So the problems, right? If it's not enough and SLP keeps falling, what happens to the floor and Axie prices? Because the majority was based on AXS portion, but now it's flipped. So if we look at this and the breed cost, because it is flipped the other way, if SLP continues on this, this is looking at it at 4.6. If SLP continues to go on that downtrend, it drops 50%, say, and it goes to 2.3. The cost of breeding, that's going to go down to let's say 2.1 or 0.021. It's going to be 0.034 or so to breed an Axie, rather than 0.056, which will essentially just drop the floor out as well of those trash Axies plus everything that you're wanting to buy from breeding. So while this is good, it does mean that SLP is going to have to hold this price, if not go up. Otherwise, if it keeps dropping and we get lower and lower below that 3.5, it affects the price of Axies, and it affects your breeding. It affects everything in the whole game. So whether this was a smart move or not, I'm guessing we'll see in the next couple of weeks. But just before we jump out, one thing I want to just have a chat about is this the one we want? Is the perpetual contract here on OKX. So I'll only take up a minute or two of everyone's time. I'll do an extra video of this later on at some point. But basically what you can do with the perpetual contract is sort of used in a more traditional sense, right? So if we do create market structure, right, we get through here, come back, retest. That's what I'm really looking for. Come back and retest. Come back, and then we hit this level here of resistance. Let's say we hit the level here on the 19th of December, and I have a sync on the 26th of December. So what I'm going to be doing is taking a short position out on the perpetual contract for the same amount of Axies same amount of SLP that I'm going to get from my scholarship claim. So let's say I've got 10 scholars, they all make 2,000 SLP in the 14 days. So my share, I'm doing 50-50. I know that on the 5th or say 26th of December, Boxing Day, I'm going to have 10,000 SLP that I'm going to claim. Now, if I claim those 10,000 SLP at 9 cents, that's what, $900. However, if we drop back down to here, I'm only going to be getting about $600. The thing is, I can take a 1x short out on the perpetual contract on OKX. I will leave my shilling referral code in the comments. So I take a 1x short out for 10,000 SLP. That basically locks the price in for me at 9 cents. So then it doesn't matter if the price goes up or down, as long as I have enough money in my account to, I guess, combat a more than 100% increase the other way. So I would have to have more than at least what my claim is going to be worth, because if we start getting above 100, it's going to ask me to add some funds in there so I don't get liquidated. So if you take the short position here, you're locking in that price for 9.1 cents. So no matter what happens in those next couple of days, you're going to get 9 cents for your whole claim. So if it goes up, your short position is going to be in a loss, and you close that the same time you sink, and you sell your SLP that you sink for that price, and you lock in that 9% price. So you've lost on the short, but you've made money because your SLP that you've claimed and sold from your fortnightly claim has gone up. So you do miss out on the gains. But what I'm really doing for this, while we're in a downtrend and we're not making this new market structure, and while we've still got the problems of the burn versus mint, plus all this extra minted that's just sort of floating around, ready to get dumped on the market at any point, finding levels of resistance like I was talking about in the last video. So I would be looking at, if we got to here, I'd be looking at that, because I think there's more of a chance that this rejects off of here and comes down lower. Say, even if it came down 20%, that's fine. Say we got to here and I took the short out and we rejected. Where are we? 26th of December. We're sitting at 7 cents. I close my short, which will be in profit, like 23%, because I've taken it out as a 1x short. So I've made money on that, but the SLP that I sell is going to be less. I'm going to be selling it for 6 cents, but I'm also going to make money on the short. So finding levels, like brutal levels of resistance, like that 9 cents that we can't get past, 10 cents, it's going to be probably 17 cents if we look at the other chart as well, 14 cents. I think there's one at 17 as well. If you've got a claim close to here and you want to lock in a price and you're worried about doing this, right? This is what you'd be more worried about. You're sitting here and it's, your claim is on the 6th of November. You're sitting here on the 4th of November. You just see SLP to 100%. All right, and you're like, yes, I can't wait. By the time you get to your claim, it's back down to 7. You could have locked in the 10 cents by taking a short. Yes, it would have been, your short would have been in a loss for a little bit between, this portion here. But by the time you actually make your claim back, when you're getting your claim back here, you're going to close that short position out, which will be in a profit between, from 10 cents down. So you would have all this profit from your short. You close that, bank your profit from your short, sell the rest of your thing at the same price at the 7 cents when you get your claim, and you locked in that price of 10 cents. So it does also come with some risks. Please hit me up in the EBC Discord. Happy to go through it with anybody in a bit more detail. But basically, if you're a couple of days out and you're seeing these pumps like this, so like if you had a claim in a couple of days and you were worried that it was going back to 3.5 cents and you didn't want to have the downside of, losing 25% of your fortnightly claim, you could lock the price in right now at 4.6 cents, depending on what it is. But it's more these sort of situations here and more about planning your fortnightly sync. So obviously the longer it is before your claim. So if you hit this and you've still got 12 days before your next claim, there's going to be a lot of price action those 12 days. So you're going to have to make sure you've got enough capital to cover either way, especially if it does go on a run and you're short. So, all right, guys, hopefully that was helpful. If you have more questions about shorting, I did an old video. I might have a look and see if that's any good and put that one up. If not, please hit me up in the EBC Discord, and I'll see everyone on Saturday morning, and we'll run through and see what the price is like from then. Hopefully, we're starting to get some new market structure and something like this. But to be honest, at the moment, I'm just waiting and sort of seeing, because that news didn't really push anywhere near as much as it should have, considering. They've just tripled the price of SLP. All right, guys. Talk to you soon.